So tonight on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to revisit a story that we covered a few podcasts ago about Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. Now, a lot of people was upset with Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. He just got into office and he is a Democrat. Want to make sure to point that out. And a lot of people in the black community was upset because he wanted to allocate $51 million of taxpayer money to all the people arriving in Chicago that's coming from south of the border. He said it's a humanitarian crisis. He said they got to do something about it. And even though a lot of black American citizens was objecting to this, they was objecting to them being put in their neighborhoods. They was objecting to them being put in schools that was closed down. Because remember when Democrat Ron Emanuel was in office, he closed 50 schools across Chicago, and the majority of those schools were in black areas. So when the community say, well, you know, if you're not going to have a school, that's created into a community center, they say no to black people. But when people come from south of the border, well, all of a sudden now we're considering opening up these schools to house, you know, the people that just arrived across the border, breaking our laws, not going through the proper process. Some people say, well, they're going through the asylum process, but they're actually gaming the system in a lot of ways. Now, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, again, his administration is turning his focus to resettling asylum seekers amid an ongoing, he says, humanitarian crisis that's seen thousands of new arrivals since last August. They continue to say as it looks to eventually find more permanent solutions than the police station lobbies and large congregate shelters that have housed migrants in recent months. They say the city is prepared to seek proposals for a community-based model that could also cut down on high costs of contractual shelter staff. Say Johnson Deputy Chief of Staff Christina Pacquion Zayas. She told the Chicago Tribune. Now, the city is also eyeing a $25 million expenditure with state assistance to provide 6 months of rental assistance for more than 6,500 migrants, plus 15 million to fight homelessness. It said, but she emphasized that the city's plans to collaborate with the county and state remain fluid as the administration struggles to build capacity to provide immediate support for the migrants arriving in Chicago daily. So they took $51 million of taxpayer money and applied it to them. Now they want to take an additional $25 million and apply it to them as well, which the grand total comes out to $76 million. And then they say, well, let's do $15 million to homelessness. Well, how about all the money be put on homelessness? How about that? But no, that's not what they want to do. You have to understand, this is planned, folks. This isn't happenstance. These people were told, hey, come up here to America and we'll get you a free house. Don't worry about the courts. Don't worry about the police. Nobody's going to do you anything. We'll get you to get a job and you can stay here. You may not have citizenship, but don't worry, you don't need it because we're going to make sure that you can get a driver's license. In a lot of states, you can even become police officers and not even legal citizens of the United States of America. You don't have to worry about the laws that was passed in this country. The laws is only for the citizens. We enforce the laws on the citizens. Not going to enforce the laws on you. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry. You're good. Yes, some people may complain about the money we're spending, but don't worry about it. You're going to be taken care of. Now, before I continue, hey, white America, can we talk again? Now, when we talk about reparations for black Americans for the harms of slavery, you're adamant to say no. Your boot-licking, shoe-shining raccoon Clyburn say, hell no, you're not getting it. Because he's speaking for you. Because we know Clyburn is your mouthpiece, right? So to black America is hell no, you're not getting it. But to these people, they get all the money. And where is the vitriol for all this taxpayer dollars that's coming out of your pocket, white America? I'm going to keep laying it at y'all because y'all get so upset, even the conversation of reparations. You get upset. But real time money is going out to people who aren't even citizens. And let me tell you something about these people that's coming over here. I know how a lot of them think. They coming up here from multiple places. They coming to get in where they fit in. They don't care about America like that. They don't have no ties to America. They didn't build this country. They didn't fight for this country. Anything. Remember, they ran from their country. So if you run from your country, why in the world would you care about this one for, right? They didn't fight in the wars of this country. They didn't go through anything for the development of this country. They come in after everything been built. They're coming after every war been fought. They're coming after the fact. And they're benefiting more than United States citizens. 76% of the homeless population in Chicago is Black Americans. And yet people who just came across the border are in shelters, while Black Americans and other Americans who are, of course, homeless in Chicago are on the streets. Isn't that something? The Democrat Party has orchestrated this plan. This plan has been orchestrated for many reasons. Number one, this country never wanted to pay proper money for labor. As we know, this country had 250 years of chattel slavery, another 100 years or so of Jim Crow. In the middle of all, what we would say the Jim Crow era, we're talking about convict leasing. We're talking about the black codes. We're talking about sharecropping, not paying black people for any kind of labor. You still don't pay black people for labor because you quickly try to criminalize them and put them in prison. And by the 13th Amendment of the United States Constitution, it says that slavery is legal in prison. And the majority of white America is okay with slavery going on in prison. I'm the guy that says if they work in prison, that's fine, but pay them minimum wage and put it on the commissary. That way, they have some money. They can buy the products they need. They can do all kind of things. It take away a lot of that savagery that happens in jail. Because when people don't have something and others have it, it creates just a bad system. And whatever money they got left in their commissary, you go ahead on and cut them a check on the way out of prison. That, to me, would be fair. I'm not saying not to work, but pay them minimum wage for their work. It's just that simple. But hey, who am I to talk about that, right? That just sounds like more common sense to me. Not saying they shouldn't work, but they should get paid a minimum wage for their work. But continuing, this is a plan that's been hatched because not only they want cheap labor, because we know the people that's coming over, a minimum wage job is a gold mine for them. So corporations benefit off of them being here, period. Number two, the Democrat Party want them in here also for numbers because they graph that particular group of people and they make sure to categorize them on the census as white. Now, if I was in leadership, I would not categorize them as white because they're not white people. White people are European descent from Europe. Why are you going to call other groups of people who are white that are not European descent? Well, they do that so they can fudge the numbers so the resources can go to European people. You understand? Because if you study and look at even the Hispanic population in the United States, a lot of them, I'm going to say a good portion of them, almost 3/4, live under a poverty level. So even though there's a lot of them here, they're not, the majority isn't upwardly mobile. And that's done by design as well. They don't want them to get in a position of upward mobility. They don't. They make sure to play a game with them on top of that for them not to get citizenship because they don't want them to really vote. Because let's look at a state like Texas. Right now, Hispanics has passed white people as the number one population. So if you think about it, if Hispanics, all of them could vote like that, then white people wouldn't be able to run much of nothing. Hispanics would run it all in the state of Texas. Now you look at a state like California, 40% of that state is Hispanic. If a majority of them started to vote and get codified on some things, they would run the state. But you look at the politicians they have, like Nuri Martinez out there in LA, look at how they talk when they get up in a position of power, calling black people monkeys, talking about the indigenous people, where they come from, like the Oaxacans, or their own people. They talking crap about them because they're a little too dark. Understand? And then you look research where these people come from, and there's a lot of anti-black racism where they come from. So the white supremacists on the Democrat Party don't mind them coming because they know that a lot of them coming over to anti-black racism. So they're not going to be importing, let's say, they're not going to be importing a bunch of Africans. They're not going to be importing a bunch of Caribbeans. Yeah, you may have some raccoons in the mix, but what they fear is not everybody going to be a raccoon. Or maybe the parents will be a raccoon, but the children, and that's what I've seen more of, a lot of your first generation African, immigrant, the children, they understand what we're talking about a lot more. And a lot of the times they become more of an ally and on solidarity, definitely with Black America, because they grew up in this system. So they know and understand it for what it is a lot of times. So this is all done by design. They are destroying America from within. And also, many politicians, Democrat and Republican, have created their own adversary in China. Back in the 1970s, China was a third world country. And what did happen in the 1970s? They shipped all the good manufacturing jobs that a lot of men, black, white, whoever, can get out of high school and go get a decent job that can actually provide a home by themselves for a family. Didn't need the wife to work. They took all the manufacturing jobs out of this country and put them in China when people getting paid $1 a day, $2 a day. What the Chinese end up doing, they wasn't stupid. They didn't say, "Ooh, we great to have these jobs." No, they copied everything that they were manufacturing, and they copied it and put a Chinese name on it, and then they sold it cheaper. Now, at first, Chinese goods were horrible. Most people say, "I don't want that Chinese stuff." Now, today, the Chinese stuff don't have the reputation that it used to have. China makes the majority of everything in this country. It wasn't like that. But your greedy politicians, Democrat and Republican, and the corporations who fund them, because understand, your politicians are controlled. Well, what did Rockefeller say? "I don't care who's in power as long as I control the money." And if you controlling the money, you can control the politician. Understand? This is why politicians can never be on our side, because even with the Citizens United decision where corporations could donate to political campaigns, that should have never been allowed. But they control your politicians. So who cares what political party even in office at that point? Because what they normally do is donate to Democrats and Republicans. So now you have China, who is smart, made the money, invested in the military, do the things they need to do. Now they are considered a superpower. They're not overtaking the United States as a superpower yet, but they're right there. United States created the adversary. If they wouldn't have been greedy, trying to get money, and kept all the manufacturing in the United States, China wouldn't even be an issue right now. And they want to bring manufacturing back to the United States. They've been talking about that. But how? But who going to work? Those people they bringing in, because they're not going to pay American citizens the wages they deserve to do manufacturing. Oh, they got a plan. So if the Democrats get back in another 4 years, Biden and crew, oh, watch what's going to happen. You can't give that man another 4 years, but let's continue. The city also wants the federal government to find a faster way to provide work permits for the migrants so they can support themselves after the 6-month rental assistance ends. They say that there have been discussions at the state level with some national employer organizations in an attempt to find a more immediate solution. They say efforts to resettle some of the migrants from city-run shelters to more permanent homes began in April. They say when the Department of Housing allocated $4 million for the program dubbed Asylum-Seeking Emergency Rental Assistance. So far, 109 households have been resettled into permanent housing. 285 currently have signed leases or are in the process of moving within the next 15 to 30 days. Now, a lot of you, especially in the Republican Party, you talk about all these handouts. And you talk about handouts and you want to talk about black people. But look, all the handouts is happening with those people. I never hear that conversation being brought out about them getting all the handouts. Remember, these aren't U.S. citizens. These aren't. These people just showed up last week, month ago, 2 months ago, and they're being put in places to stay. And they only have to pay rent. So American citizens are on the streets in Chicago. People come across the border, get free housing, want them to get work permits. They don't have to worry about rent for 6 months. And let me tell you something else that some of y'all heard or maybe don't know. A plan was hatched by their particular community a long time ago about the states on the border with Mexico. And they said they will take those states back. And they said they planned how to take the states back that they lost in war with the United States is that they're going to just keep coming to those states and having babies. And with time, they will overpopulate all those states and eventually start running those states. And as you can see, with the assistance of the Democrat Party, they want to make that a reality because they're being assisted. They're not doing this on their own, folks. They're being assisted by the Democrat Party. Now, black people, we never get any assistance from the Democrat Party. Never. We don't get anything from the Democrat Party. We always talking about, hey, do something for us, do something for us, do something for us. And they always tell black people, no, wait, it's not time, or hold on, I got the virus to deal with. Hold on, I got Ukraine to deal with. Hold on, well, it's inflation I need to deal with. Just wait a minute, hope and change. This is what you're told. And everybody else coming here and immediately they're getting resources out of your pocket. And at the same time, they're gaslighting you. But once again, where are white America with the same vitriol and anger that you have when black Americans talk about reparations? Once again, I always say this, and I'm going to keep saying this. If you disagree with reparations at this point, you're just a flat out anti-black racist. And I'm going to keep saying that because you have nothing to say when it comes to these other people. These other people aren't black and you're cool with them getting all the tax dollars. But let's continue. So they said the Illinois Housing Development Authority has been in charge of processing applications, while the Catholic Charities does the case management, and New Life has been subcontracted to help the migrants move into their apartments. They say the asylum-seeking shelters are staffed day and night by favorite staffing, a contracted vendor that works to support management operators, according to a statement say from the city. They say, but the staffing model established by the former administration, talking about Lori Lightfoot, is not sustainable. Now, Pacquiao Zayas said of the $51 million that the city council approved for the migrant care expenditures through June, $47 million is going to pay for contractual staff. They say earlier this month, Pacquiao Zayas met with several community leaders, including Janet Murguia. It said the president of Unidos US, formerly National Council of La Raza. Now, La Raza means the race. Yes, that's what they call themselves, the race, La Raza. It said the country's largest Latino nonprofit advocacy organization, they said, to discuss how community organizations could work together to better assess and help asylum seekers to fully resettle in the city. They're resettling on taxpayer dollars. They're not resettling going through the citizenship process. No, they're coming in and literally getting ahead by design. I have to keep saying this by design because they're not doing all this by themselves. Trust me, to go from Venezuela all the way up through Mexico, you got to be helped. Where are the people getting all this money to give it to the coyotes to get them through Mexico and different places? These people say there's no jobs. Let's really think about what they're saying. They're saying there's no jobs in their country. There's too much corruption in their country. They got cartels and all different things in their country. So they don't have anything. So they said different tracks, sometimes you have to pay $10,000 US, sometimes up to $20,000 US. You have to pay to get you from your country through Mexico, to the border in Texas or California, wherever, Arizona. Where the money coming from? The cartel's not paying it. So where the money coming from? No one asked that question. These people who's coming aren't rich people. These aren't doctors who's coming. This isn't millionaire investors coming. These are poor people who don't have anything. That's who's coming here. So where is the money coming from to get them here? Then the money's going, they cutting a check, big checks. This is why I said all this is being done by design. Just think about it. Then when they get here, the Democrat Party makes sure to open up the gate and say, yeah, come on through. Okay. Then when they get to the cities, they say, hey, okay, shoot, we need to get you a work permit. We'll get you a place to stay. We're going to see you in Chicago. And you're going to get a apartment, and we're going to get you some free rent for 6 months. So between the 6 months, you probably get your work permit. So we'll pay for your rent. Don't worry about it. You're a VIP. Don't worry about it. You're good. Yeah, the American citizens going to complain. We ain't worrying about them. You good. Don't worry about it. Think about it. So the investigation need to be is who's paying for them to come? Why is your politicians so invested? Are they getting money on the back end from the people that's paying for those people to come? Like, why is the Democrat Party so adamant about them being here? Even though they see a lot of people in the country don't like it, they don't care. I mean, we need to start doing some forensic audits on these politicians. And when I say a forensic audit, I'm talking about a financial forensic audit. Because just recently, the other day, it came out that Biden was receiving money from China, corporations in Ukraine, to be doing different things here in America. And the media have been sweeping that story underneath the rug. Hunter Biden was getting money from China and Ukraine and other people. He didn't even pay taxes. And when he got hit with a gun charge, federal gun charge at that, you know how many brothers locked up right now behind a federal gun charge? A federal gun charge. And federal gun charge that black men sitting right now in federal prison over. They say he didn't pay taxes. Now, they say he ended up paying the taxes in the end. He paid it, but he wasn't paying taxes. So between the gun charge and taxes, he gets 2 years probation. If that's not the most corrupt thing I've ever seen in my life, when black men right now are sitting in federal prison behind that gun charge. Wesley Snipes didn't get probation. Did he? Wesley Snipes went to prison, federal prison. Lauryn Hill didn't get probation. She went to federal prison behind taxes. You understand? The Democrats are literally destroying America from within. And I'm not saying the Republicans know everything, but doggone it, I can say this much, at least when Trump was in office, I can say that. He wasn't allowing this mess to go on. Biden, obviously Biden told ICE, hey, just show up to work. You're getting paid. Don't worry about it. You ain't got nothing to do. Oh, I forgot. ICE can go get Haitians. I'm sorry. ICE is going to just target Haitians and other black immigrants who come in here illegally. That's who they're targeting. The others, hey, leave them alone. Just if the Haitians come, get them out of here, put them on a plane right back to Haiti. We've seen Biden get Haitians out of here like this. But that makes sense because the Democrats are anti-black racists. So we understand. So the question I have, especially for white America, are you going to get upset about more money going to people who aren't citizens of this country? The tally now is going to be up to $76 million. But you say you can't stand reparations. You say we shouldn't be talking about that. Why should we get reparations? When you know black people's spending habits at that. Black people, let's call it what it is. They get reparations, the majority of the money going to be spent with you. To be honest with you. Because I know my people. They're going to be spending money at your businesses, your dealerships, your clothing stores, your colleges or schools, if they choose to do that. That's kind of what it is. You own the majority of everything. So it's not really too many places black people can go spend money, unless they choose to buy land and property and real estate and do investments. Okay, you're going to have a section of us doing that, but let's call it what it is. The majority will be spending money with you. And you know that because you've been on our spending habits. But you don't want us to have not even one nickel. Not one. But I want to know why are you okay with your tax dollars for this? And then an additional $6 billion just went to Ukraine. They said they didn't know how Ukraine got paid an additional $6 billion. Wow, $6 billion come out just out the blue. So the Democrats, y'all got money just y'all cashing out. But black folks, this is the party you go run and vote for. This is the one. You still gonna go run out and vote for them? I just call it what it is. Yeah, a lot of you will. You don't have to have nothing. Like I said, because I understand that you are happy being a slave. You are. You're happy being a slave because a slave doesn't get anything. A slave just work and do things for the master, right? And what you do for the master today is show up to vote and keep them in power. That's what you do. But you get nothing out of it. So you literally a slave. These people don't have to vote to come across the border. If you just get out there and vote, Phil, why are you telling people that they shouldn't be voting if they don't get nothing out of it? Them people that come across the border didn't vote and they getting everything. Why are you telling, y'all answer that question. They come across the border, didn't vote for anything, yet they getting everything. And yet you always in the line voting, who black voters matter, who souls to the polls. Get your soul to the poll. And you get nothing. Nothing. What, a t-shirt? Some media coverage? Divine 9 to the polls. Okay, Divine 9. You went to the polls. Them people didn't go nowhere. So it seems like voting is not working, right? It seems like it because y'all voting for a political party that prioritizes people who don't vote for them. Please answer that question for me, Black America. Are you going to go vote for these people again? Like how much more disrespect? How much more like they got to do that to you for you to wake up? Or are you that far gone? Because a lot of people tell me, Phil, I know what you're trying to do, but Phil, our people are done, Phil. Our people are done, man. I'm telling you, they'll listen to you. They may even agree with you, but they are so programmed to go vote Democrat. They're so programmed for self-destruction. They're so, anti-black racists themselves. Like they done. You see, I have people telling me this, but I told everybody, I don't do this for them. I don't do that for the lost. I do it for the people that's right there on the edge. They understanding what I'm talking about. That's who I do it for. Now, some of those people, of course, I target the black community, but there's a lot of people outside the black community that enjoy what I'm talking about and understand. They say, hey, I feel the same way. I may not be a part of the black community, but I feel the exact same way. And that's great. You know, I always tell people truth has no bearing on anybody's, ethnicity, religion, or color. It does not. Truth is truth. People will recognize truth no matter what background they have. But like I told y'all, I'll just stick to my lane. My lane is Black America. So that's what I'm going to go with. Definitely the diaspora as well. So black folks, what you going to do? Because you put Brandon Johnson in there. This is your doing. You put him in there. Black people in Chicago, I got to tell you, this is what you voted for right here. And you should be lamenting. Matter of fact, why don't you call for a recall election of Brandon Johnson? Do that. Do a recall. That actually would be pretty good. If y'all really upset what Brandon Johnson is doing, get a recall going. Get him out of the office.